My husband and I are in a loveless, contractual marriage. When I heard his first love was back in town, I immediately made plans to step aside and let her take over. But then, I accidentally overheard him bragging to his friends, "My wife is crazy about me. See this tie?" She picked it out and tied it herself, even made sure it matched her scarf. "And this watch? She chose it for me, looks great, doesn't it? She's so clingy. Every time we say goodbye, she insists on one more kiss, like she can't stand to let me go." I stood there at the door, completely dumbfounded. Wait. Was he talking about me? Ryan was still gloating away at the lounge. "Look at this gift my wife gave me," he continued, basking in attention. "The moment she got her paycheck from a project, she rushed to buy me an apartment. She was so insistent on giving it to me. And even put it solely under my name. My wife really loves me," he concluded, sounding completely pleased with himself, while his friends were left looking somewhere between awkward and unimpressed. These guys were all trust fund kids, each with fortunes in the billions. Honestly, the tiny apartment I bought, even though it's in a prime location, wouldn't even register on their radar. But here was Ryan, showing it off like it was a treasure. Watching him grin like that, I was even more confused. Weren't we supposed to be in a marriage with zero feelings? So how did I suddenly become the one madly in love with him? Did I, somehow, end up in the wrong story? I watched Ryan show off that watch again, and the more I looked at him, the more baffled I felt. Sure, I sort of picked out that watch, but all I did was mention it looked nice. And he went ahead and bought it himself. As for the tie? That was his idea, because he insisted we had to play the role of a loving couple in public, so he specifically got one in a matching color. And the reason I helped him tie it was simply because he was dawdling around when I was in a rush to leave. And the apartment? That was just me repaying a favor. How did that suddenly turn into proof that I was head over heels for him? I couldn't help but laugh at how absurd this all was as I calmly pushed the door open. The moment Ryan saw me, his face lit up with undisguised delight, and he arrogantly called out, "You're here, huh? Come sit down." I went along with it and sat beside him, only to notice him sneaking glances at his friends. To my surprise, I actually understood that look. It was like he was silently boasting, "See? My wife can't go a minute without me," and came rushing over. The truth was, he was the one who had insisted that I show up. He naturally wrapped an arm around my waist, and when he sensed how stiff I was, he leaned in close and whispered in my ear, "Don't forget our agreement." I let out a soft smile, relaxed into his embrace, and leaned against him tenderly. One of his friends chuckled, "You two are really something." "Yeah. Ryan was just singing your praises," another added. Feigning curiosity, I asked, "Oh? What was he saying about me?" "What else? Just how capable and amazing you are." "Exactly. He even went on about how great your relationship is." I turned to Ryan, gazing at him with a soft expression, and slipped my arm through his, resting my head on his shoulder. "Oh yes, our relationship has always been wonderful." Ryan immediately straightened up, a grin stretching so wide he could barely contain it. If he had a tail, it'd definitely be wagging like crazy right now. In that moment, I suddenly realized, my husband was actually kind of amusing. Ryan eagerly started introducing me to his friends. "This is Mr. James from the Romanov Group, his family is in the medical devices business. And over here is someone from Allers Corporation." He was relentless in his introductions. But the tone didn't quite feel like he was just introducing buddies. It was more like he was trying to line up business contacts for me. My wife's family had some issues before, but now she's taken the helm of their company, Sunset Group, and is leading it to a fresh start. You all have known me for years, so if you can, do give her a hand. My wife is truly impressive. She just wrapped up a project with Vincent Company. You know how tough GR Group is, always so demanding and hard to please. But she nailed it. So you can trust Jessica's capabilities." As I listened, it became clearer why this gathering was arranged. Ryan's friends were people I could only dream of networking with, and yet, he was taking the initiative to introduce them to me. Sure, on the surface, we were a couple, so his success was mine and vice versa, but we both knew what the reality of our relationship was. Still, I couldn't deny feeling a twinge of emotion knowing he was doing all this for me. Noticing my gaze fixed on him, Ryan's cheeks turned slightly red. He lowered his head, took a sip of water, and leaned in close to whisper, "Don't forget, I own shares in your company. You making money means we make money. I'm a businessman. After all. Can't let myself lose out," he added, sounding all too practical. I smiled faintly. Sure, that made sense, but why did it sound like he was trying a bit too hard to justify himself? When I turned away, he seemed a bit off, as if my reaction wasn't quite what he'd expected. Leaning in closer again, he added, "These guys are loaded. Squeeze them for all they're worth. If there's any trouble, I've got your back." I couldn't help but laugh. Only he could say something like that with a straight face. Picking up my glass, I turned to his friends and said, "It's a pleasure meeting you all. I look forward to working together in the future." Seeing me raise my glass, Ryan quickly joined in. He snatched the wine out of my hand and swapped it for a glass of juice. "Stick to juice," he told me. Then, turning to his friends, he added, "My wife's health isn't great, so she can't drink alcohol." James nodded understandingly. "Got it. Jessica, we'll definitely collaborate more in the future." By the end of the evening, I'd managed to exchange contact info with almost everyone, and with Ryan's relentless pushing, I even walked away with 2 projects. Can you handle that project all on your own? Why not consider partnering with my wife? Her family's business is in real industry, tons of experience. Is your project underway yet? Maybe think about bringing my wife on board? I'd seen people trying to pass on resources before, but this was on a whole other level. He was practically force-feeding them to me. I couldn't help but laugh at Ryan's shameless maneuvering. I was honestly worried he'd leave this place friendless by the time we walked out. He wouldn't let me drink. Yet here he was shamelessly begging for deals. Of course, his friends knew him too well, they laughed it off while pouring drink after drink for him. By the end of the night, Ryan was so tipsy that he was practically draped over me, totally out of it. Struggling to get him into the car, I was just about to hop into the driver's seat when he groggily grabbed my wrist, refusing to let go. "Babe, don't leave," he mumbled, his voice slurred. "I really like you," he blurted out. Wait, what? Did he just say he likes me? My marriage with Ryan was a complete accident. 2 years ago, my father's failed investments brought our family business to the brink of bankruptcy. Overnight, our world came crashing down. My parents fell ill. Relatives and friends, once warm and welcoming, now treated us like the plague. Those once smiling aunts and uncles turned vicious, shouting at us to pay up. Even my longtime boyfriend abandoned me. From my ivory tower, I was suddenly thrust into the dirt, and everyone seemed eager to kick me while I was down. I sold everything of value we had left, but against a mountain of debt, it was nothing more than a drop in the ocean. We ended up crammed into a tiny, run-down apartment. And every waking moment was consumed by the thought of money. Then Ryan appeared out of nowhere. When he first showed up, I thought he was just another creditor. I was on high alert. But this strikingly handsome man simply smiled and said, "Marry me, and all your family's problems will disappear." It wasn't until he laid his cards on the table that I realized he wasn't some debt collector. He was a bona fide big shot, someone my family, even at its peak, couldn't hope to compete with. But his offer felt too good to be true, so I couldn't help but scrutinize it. "Miss Jessica, I admire you," he began. "I've seen some of the projects you led back in school. Sure, they were a bit raw, but your ideas were bold, your thinking innovative, and your attention to detail impressive. I believe that under your leadership, Sunset Group could be revitalized." "I'm a businessman," he continued. "I don't do charity work. I'm here because I see potential in you. I know you can turn a profit for me. At that time, I was eager to take over my family's business, but I'd barely graduated before everything fell apart. I knew I had skills, but no place to put them to use. So when someone offered to help me, I was naturally overjoyed. But why marriage? I asked. There are countless other ways to help: contracts, joint ventures, even performance-based agreements. Because I need a wife, he said bluntly. And I think you fit the bill. Ryan explained that he was in negotiations with a lip corporation, and the project was crucial for his family's business. Mr. Alip values family stability in his partners. He believes those who maintain harmonious households are more dependable and committed, Ryan explained. I believe you can play the role of a perfect wife. It made sense, I suppose, but something still felt off. But back then, I was desperate. Someone was willing to lend a hand, and I was too grateful to question it. I was honest with him. I can agree to a contract marriage, but I have to be upfront: I'm emotionally unavailable. I just broke up with my boyfriend and have no intention of entering a romantic relationship anytime soon. In this arrangement, I'd prefer to keep emotions out of it. I gave a bitter laugh. At that point, who was I to even think about love? And, as you can see, my family situation is a mess. You've misunderstood, Ryan cut me off. He seemed almost frustrated. He looked off into the distance, lost in thought. There's someone I've always loved. You probably know her, Marilyn Swan. She's the one person I can never have. If I can't marry the one I truly want, then I might as well marry someone who's a good fit. Jessica, I believe you can help me make money. Nothing more. Don't read into it. I just hope you won't let me down. I confirmed once again, so, this is strictly business. Absolutely, strictly business. With a gentlemanly grace, he extended his hand. Then, Miss Jessica, here's to our partnership. To our partnership, I echoed. And so, with a contract marriage as our foundation and business as our glue, we forged this arrangement. But now, I glanced at the man currently clinging to my arm, his head resting heavily on my shoulder. I was lost in thought. Wasn't this supposed to be a purely transactional arrangement, devoid of emotions? So why was it starting to feel like he had switched up a totally different script on me? After a lot of stumbling and struggling, I finally managed to get Ryan back to his room, once again reminded of the stark difference in strength between men and women. This man, when drunk, clung to me like a sloth, refusing to let go. It took forever just to coax him onto the bed. I helped him out of his jacket, took off his shoes and socks, unbuttoned his shirt, and tidied up his belongings. As I looked at him sprawled out on the bed, I couldn't help but think of that smug expression he had when he was bragging to his friends about the small apartment I supposedly bought him. In reality, that apartment was simply a token of appreciation to repay him. When Ryan and I began our arrangement, he generously bought my parents a place, saving them from the nightmare of being homeless. Despite our contract marriage, I never felt comfortable accepting his generosity for free. So when one of my recent projects wrapped up with decent profits, I used the money to buy him that apartment. It wasn't a luxurious place, just a modest one close to his office, where he could occasionally rest between his busy schedule. But Ryan insisted that, since we were technically husband and wife, this should count as marital property, and demanded we split it equally. After a long back and forth, I ended up conceding, and the apartment was now co-owned by both of us. I stared at Ryan, passed out with his limbs splayed every which way, and couldn't help but think about the divorce papers lying in my own room. Should I go through with it? Sunset Group had indeed weathered the worst and was now slowly regaining its footing. All thanks to Ryan's help. But if I brought up divorce now, it would feel like I was just discarding him after getting what I wanted. The reason I had my assistant draft those papers was twofold. Firstly, I didn't want to keep being indebted to Ryan. And secondly, the woman he'd been obsessed with, Marilyn, had finally returned. Ryan had done so much for me, while I could only repay him so little. If he still loved her, I wanted to give him the freedom to be with the one he truly desired. Yet, when I recalled that proud look on his face when he was boasting about me to his friends, I found myself second-guessing. Does he really still have feelings for Marilyn? Or perhaps, does he still love her at all? Jessica, breakfast is ready downstairs. Okay. I hastily shoved the divorce papers into the drawer, trying to act nonchalant as I headed down. Ryan was at the dining table, casually sipping his coffee while scrolling through the morning news. The remnants of his hangover added a hint of fatigue to his face, but somehow, it only made him appear more mature and composed. Honestly, Ryan was a very handsome man. His features were sharp and defined, with strong brows, piercing eyes, and a high, straight nose. When he wasn't smiling, he had an air of cold authority that could make people keep their distance. I used to think I wasn't into men with such an imposing presence. My ex-boyfriend was the complete opposite, gentle, soft-spoken, the type who could be described as a Prince Charming. I had thought he was steady and dependable, but, well, I couldn't really blame him. It wasn't about looks. After all, self-preservation is just human nature. But Ryan? Strangely, I didn't dislike him. In fact, I felt like his personality perfectly matched his commanding appearance, a face that naturally carried the aura of someone always in control. Noticing that I'd been staring, Ryan's lips curved into a barely there smile. This man, he was truly an enigma. After breakfast, Ryan brought it up himself. I'll drive you to the office today. That's okay, I quickly declined. It's out of your way. And it's Monday. You have your morning meeting, don't you? It's on the way. I actually have a meeting near your company. Seeing how eager he seemed, I didn't push back any further. But my mind was still in turmoil, thoughts tumbling over each other. As his car slowly pulled up to my office building, I couldn't hold it in any longer. Marilyn's back. Did you know? Oh, yeah, I heard. Ryan's expression shifted, his gaze dropping as if he were deliberately avoiding mine. But the turmoil in his eyes was unmistakable. I couldn't quite understand why my heart twisted uncomfortably at his reaction, but at the same time, I felt like this was how it was supposed to be. Well, I'll head up. See you later. Okay. See you tonight. Watching him drive away, looking as if he had something weighing on his mind, I let out a bitter chuckle. Jessica, what happened last night was just a fluke. You shouldn't be expecting more. Pulling myself together, I quickly buried my emotions and dove into work mode. With Vincent's project successfully completed, I've managed to turn the tide for Sunset Group, restoring its brand reputation. Leveraging Ryan's influence, I even secured a few new projects. My schedule was packed to the brim, and I was busy coordinating every detail, personally overseeing each task. By the time I finally wrapped up for the day, it was nearly 7 p.m. Dragging my tired body out of the office, I was caught completely off guard to find someone waiting for me downstairs. Terry, my ex-boyfriend. He looked just the same as ever. The same gentle patience, that familiar smile in his eyes as if we had never broken up. Jessica, long time no see. But that tender smile felt misplaced now, making me uncomfortable. We found a nearby cafe to catch up. After all, we had known each other for years and dated for 4, there was no need for awkward small talk. The moment I sat down, I began wolfing down food. I was starving. Terry watched with that ever-present soft smile. Jessica, you really haven't changed a bit. No, I've changed a lot. I raised my left hand, showing off the ring on my finger. I'm married now. For the first time. A faint crack appeared in Terry's gentle demeanor. Did you do this to get back at me? You're overthinking it. I know. I shouldn't have left, but I had no choice. My mother was. It's all in the past, I cut him off, keeping my tone calm. There was no point in revisiting who was right or wrong. Back then, I'd seen too much of the dark side of human nature, and to be fair, Terry had been one of the more decent ones. He broke things off cleanly, extricating himself from the mess that had engulfed my family. We were merely dating, perhaps I shouldn't have expected so much from him. I'm sorry. There's no need to apologize. Everyone makes their own choices, and I don't blame you. It's just that. Just that it was a shame. He was the first man I had truly loved, someone I once thought I would spend my life with. But life is unpredictable. What? He prompted. Nothing. I gave him a polite smile. Everything happened as it was meant to. Things are good now. Sunset Group is on the rise again, and everything is heading in the right direction. Yes, you're still the fearless Jessica Swan. No obstacle can stop you. I just smiled faintly, not responding. The pain of facing those obstacles wasn't something I cared to share. So why did you reach out today? Was it just to reminisce? I missed you. I wanted to see you. Terry's eyes bore into mine, the same intense gaze from when we were in love. I deliberately turned away. No matter what my relationship with Ryan was, I was his wife in name. Don't say things like that again. It's awkward for me, and undignified for you. But Jessica, it's the truth. I regret it. I can't bear to let you go. I looked at the man in front of me, scrutinizing his so-called remorse. And for the first time, I saw through to the insincerity beneath it. A bitter smile tugged at my lips. Jessica, even the man you once loved turned out to be so disappointing. If you hadn't mentioned regrets, I might have thought better of you. Jessica. I'm married. My husband treats me well. Let's not meet again, I don't want him to misunderstand. I picked up my bag and turned to leave, but Terry grabbed my arm. Jessica. Is he really good to you? Are you sure he's not deceiving you? These rich heirs are notorious for their playboy lifestyles. I've heard that he. Before I could react, a tall figure strode over with a menacing presence, delivering a powerful punch to Terry's face. The blow sent him sprawling to the ground. Before I knew what was happening, Ryan had his arm wrapped possessively around me. Sorry. But I'd appreciate it if you stayed away from my wife, Ryan said, his tone icy. If you dare to bother her again, I'll make sure you regret it. Terry's expression darkened, the cut on his cheek stripping away that gentle facade, leaving him looking disheveled. Ryan, are you that afraid of me talking to her? You sneaky thief. Ryan didn't bother responding, simply tightening his grip on me and pulling me away. He was angry. That was my first instinct. But it didn't quite make sense. I had been completely upfront with Ryan about my past with Terry before we got married. So, was it just possessiveness? After all, based on the papers signed by government, I was still his wife officially. I just wanted to clarify that nothing's going on between me and him. Running into him today was purely coincidental. Okay. I promise, I'm your wife. I would never do anything to betray you. Okay. Ryan was still upset. But I had no idea how to placate him. Though we had been married for 2 years, most of our time was spent working together, side by side in the business world. In our private life, I barely knew him. I sat stiffly in the passenger seat, feeling awkward and out of my depth. The only thing I could do was try to analyze the situation rationally. Yes, Ryan and I had a contract marriage, but we always maintained an outward appearance of a loving couple. Now, if someone with ulterior motives saw me meeting with my ex-boyfriend, it would surely stir up trouble. It would reflect poorly on Ryan, my husband in name, and put him in an awkward position. I'm sorry, it was my mistake, I finally said, trying to sound sincere. Oh? And what exactly did you do wrong? His tone was oddly curious. What was with that question? It sounded almost playful. Taking a deep breath, I chose my words carefully. I understand that. As your wife, even if it's just a marriage on paper, I should adhere to our agreement and fulfill my role. I shouldn't do anything that might cause misunderstandings. You don't have to worry. I won't see Terry again. After all, he's my ex, and if people were to see us together, it might lead to gossip that could damage your reputation. Ryan nodded slowly, but a faint frown remained on his face, his expression hard to decipher. He looked pleased. Yet there was a hint of dissatisfaction lingering there. Was he happy? Or still upset? His reaction was so confusing. Honestly, trying to understand Ryan was like fishing in the deepest part of the ocean. You never knew what you might pull up. Lately, it's become glaringly obvious that Ryan has been throwing a bit of a tantrum, though I can't quite put my finger on why. For instance, just the other day, Ryan offered, "I'll drive you to work." I politely declined, "No, it's all right, I'll just take a cab." He shot back with that infuriatingly sarcastic tone, "Ah yes, it's always more convenient to go alone, makes it easier to meet whoever you want." "Okay then, I'd appreciate the ride," I relented. "And then there was lunch, let's have lunch together," he suggested. "No need. I'll just grab something quick in the cafeteria," I replied casually. "Of course," he retorted. "It's not about what you eat, but who you eat with, right? After all, I'm just your husband in name." A luxurious seafood bento box I prepared is clearly no match for the Sunset Group's cafeteria slop. "When will you get here?" I asked, giving in. "I'm heading up now," he said, sounding somewhat mollified. "And yet another time, why are you still working overtime? Didn't we agree you'd be home by 8? When did we establish an 8 p.m. curfew?" I wondered. Bewildered. He sighed dramatically. "Other wives know to come home early to keep their husbands company, but Miss Jessica here is clearly far too busy saving the world." I could practically hear the pout in his voice. It's dangerous for a girl to be out alone so late. Who knows what kind of shady men you might run into, like a certain ex-boyfriend. I let out a long, exhausted sigh. All right. I'm coming home." "No need." He countered instantly, "I'll come up and keep you company while you work late." This entire charade left me speechless. I was completely at a loss, trying to figure out what had gotten into him. Just when I was still puzzling over it, Ryan suddenly appeared in front of me, holding a meticulously tailored evening gown. He was dressed in a matching suit, looking impeccable as always. "Tonight, accompany me to a charity auction," he said. "All right." It was the only answer that made sense, and yet I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more going on beneath the surface. The charity gala was a dazzling affair, filled with an impressive mix of veteran actors, popular young stars, and top-tier girl groups. As I casually glanced around to take in the scene, Ryan's sarcastic voice came from beside me. "I guess I really am getting old, can't quite match the energy of these young people," he muttered. Oh my God, how long is he going to keep sulking? I thought in exasperation. But, considering he was my real boss, it was in my best interest to placate him. So, I turned to him with a bright smile and said, "All their good looks are just painted on. How could they compare to my husband? Who's naturally handsome and effortlessly outshines these celebrities?" I wasn't done yet. Besides, they're all about appearances. Unlike my husband, who's a real powerhouse behind the scenes. Ryan's lips twitched upward in a self-satisfied smirk. Naturally. Well, he was surprisingly easy to appease. His mood visibly lifted, and the rest of the evening seemed to go smoother. At one point, my gaze lingered on a pair of emerald earrings up for auction, catching Ryan's attention. Without hesitation, he insisted on buying them for me, mistaking my interest for desire. In truth, they simply reminded me of a pair my mother had to sell long ago. Still, I felt a warmth in my chest at his thoughtful gesture and expressed my gratitude. Throughout the event, Ryan was ever attentive, guiding me through the crowd, introducing me to potential connections, while constantly whispering in my ear, "Hold my arm. Closer. We have to make it look like we're madly in love. Fix my collar, would you? Can't you see the paparazzi snapping away over there? Take it slow, I brought a pair of flats for you to change into. I'm the perfect doting husband, after all. Ryan's relentless chatter filled my ears all night, leaving me no moment of peace. At one point, a couple who specialized in jewelry collection playfully teased us about our close relationship. Seizing the opportunity, I stood on tiptoe and planted a light kiss on Ryan's cheek, then shyly giggled, "Sorry, I just couldn't help myself." That seemed to finally stun him into silence. His soul practically floated away with bliss. But then, a ripple of commotion swept through the room, drawing my attention to the entrance. I instinctively turned to look and froze. She had arrived. Marilyn entered like a queen, clad in a sleek, perfectly tailored black gown that accentuated her graceful figure. Her raven hair was elegantly pinned up, and she wore just enough jewelry to sparkle without overpowering her natural beauty. All eyes were instantly drawn to her. And she moved through the crowd with the kind of poise that only comes from being born to command attention. Ryan stiffened beside me, his entire focus zeroed in on her. My heart sank, a confusing mix of emotions surging within me. So, Marilyn has returned after all. As Marilyn made her entrance, she was immediately the center of attention, deservedly so. Marilyn and Ryan were both true heirs of old money families, born into legacies that carried the weight of generations. Her father was a leading figure in the country's industrial sector, her mother a prominent university president. Her paternal grandparents were influential in politics, and her maternal grandparents were renowned philanthropists. In every way, Marilyn epitomized a queen born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Yet, she never carried the air of haughtiness or entitlement that often came with such status. Instead, she was warm, approachable, and genuinely charming. I knew this firsthand. We had once been teammates on the university debate team, where I got to witness her sharp wit, vast knowledge, and effortless grace up close. After graduation, Marilyn had pursued a master's degree abroad and became actively involved with the Wildlife Conservation Society. Over the years, her commitment to charity had earned her widespread admiration and respect in the upper echelons of society. So, it was no wonder Ryan would be attracted to someone like her. I glanced at him and noticed his gaze fixated on her, his expression more complex than ever. With a light nudge to his arm, I said, "Do you want to go over and say hello?" "What?" "Oh, no," he stammered, quickly averting his eyes. "I don't want to bother her. It might be awkward." His gaze flickered with hesitation, almost like he was wrestling with some inner turmoil. My heart softened at the sight. Even someone as proud and confident as Ryan seemed vulnerable and unsure in front of the person he truly cared about. I gently patted his shoulder and gave him an encouraging smile. "Ryan, you're an amazing guy. There's no reason to feel insecure. And besides, Marilyn's a genuinely kind person. Come on, be brave, young man." To my surprise, Ryan turned to me with a look of complete confusion. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his brows furrowed. I blinked. Wasn't it obvious? But as I stared back at him, I suddenly felt like I was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. Ryan's bewildered expression wasn't that of someone pining for a lost love. It was something else entirely, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. The evening continued on, lively and bustling. Ever since Marilyn's arrival, Ryan seemed to have quieted down, no longer coming up with excuses to force our loving couple act. Taking advantage of his distraction, I slipped away to the buffet to indulge in some snacks, treating myself for surviving the evening so far. I was happily enjoying my little feast when a soft, familiar voice reached my ear. "Jessica, is that really you?" I almost thought I was mistaken. Startled, I quickly set down my plate and turned around, smiling warmly as I greeted her. "Marilyn, long time no see." "Sorry, I saw you were busy earlier, so I didn't want to interrupt," she said apologetically. "Oh, don't be silly. You and I are practically battle comrades. We both chuckled at the old reference. Back in university, preparing for debate competitions had been an intense time of brainstorming and strategizing together. Marilyn always joked that we were like soldiers in a war, bound by a shared mission. Now, 3 years later, she looked just the same, radiating that familiar kindness. Marilyn's expression turned gentle as she asked, "Is everything better with your family now?" "I'm sorry, I couldn't do more to help back then." "What are you talking about?" "You already did more than enough," I replied sincerely. When my family had gone bankrupt, everyone around us had distanced themselves like we were the plague. Even my boyfriend of 4 years had broken up with me. But from halfway across the world, Marilyn had wired me 100,000 yuan. It might not have solved all my problems, but it was a lifeline and, more importantly, a testament to her friendship. She was careful to protect my pride, insisting it was just a loan that I could repay once my family recovered. Though I'd returned the money since, the kindness of that gesture remained. Grateful and a little emotional, I held her hand as we chatted about old times and what she planned to do next. But just as the conversation was getting good, Ryan showed up. His expression was hard to read. Eyes darting between me and Marilyn like he'd just walked in on some secret. Without warning, he wrapped a possessive arm around my waist, almost as if to stake his claim. "Hey," he said abruptly, "Mendoza's CEO is over there. Let me introduce you." Marilyn smiled knowingly and teased, "Looks like you cherish her quite a lot. I guess you've finally gotten your wish." I blinked. "Huh? What do you mean by that?" Ryan's expression tightened. "Don't listen to her nonsense," he muttered, a bit too quickly. Confused, I wanted to ask Marilyn if we could catch up later, but Ryan was already tugging me away. She just waved me off with a smile, seamlessly turning back to engage another high-profile guest. Once we were far enough away, Ryan finally spoke, his voice low and tense. "I knew she was back in town, but I haven't been in touch with her." "Not once." "Oh." I responded, not quite sure what he was getting at. He seemed to get frustrated by my nonchalant reaction, his tone becoming defensive. "I'm a responsible man, Jessica. I don't mess around with old flames or get tangled up in unresolved feelings. You're my wife, and I'm committed to you." "All right," I replied simply. His brow furrowed deeper. "I mean it," he insisted. Seeing him get so worked up, I couldn't help but laugh a little. "I believe you, Ryan. I trust your character, you're not the type to cheat. But if there's still something between you and Marilyn, it's better to let me know sooner rather than later. I won't stand in your way if you two can work things out." I even patted his shoulder, trying to show that I was totally fine with it. I wanted to come across as supportive and generous. But instead of calming down, Ryan's face twisted into an expression of utter disbelief. Like I'd just fed him a mouthful of something bitter. Honestly, what is up with this man? I just can't seem to figure him out. After the charity gala, Ryan seemed to stop sulking and being passive-aggressive. However, he now had a new strategy, constantly making his presence known. His latest obsession? Dragging me along to public events, using every opportunity to show off how loving we were. Right now, the media sees me as the perfect husband, devoted to my wife. If we suddenly break up, it could tank the company's stock value, he explained with an earnest look, his dark eyes almost childlike in their sincerity. I could only sigh and nod. "Fine, don't worry. If we do split, we'll do it quietly and gradually. We wouldn't want to disrupt your business interests, right?" Ryan fell silent at that. His expression grew complicated. Like there were a million things he wanted to say but couldn't find the words. Before I could ask him what was on his mind, my phone rang. Seeing Marilyn's name on the screen, I stepped aside to take the call. But as soon as I hung up and turned around, I found myself colliding right into Ryan's chest. "Were you eavesdropping on my call?" I asked, narrowing my eyes. Ryan stiffened, his neck flushing slightly as he defended himself. How can it be eavesdropping when it's a matter between husband and wife? I'm just keeping an eye out for any clueless guy who thinks he can steal you from me. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Marilyn's art gallery is opening soon. She's invited me to the event. Do you want to come? Ryan's face twisted into a scowl. Why is she inviting you? Of course I'm coming. Actually, no. I shouldn't. As a considerate husband, I should keep my distance to avoid any unnecessary gossip. Wait, what? I asked, confused by his sudden change of heart. Never mind, I shrugged. It's up to you. Ryan leaned in closer with a mischievous glint in his eye, his voice dropping to a low whisper. Remember, you've got an 8 p.m. curfew. But her gallery opening is at 3 p.m. I teased, raising an eyebrow. I was thinking of inviting you for dinner afterward, but if that's how it is, I'll just go with Marilyn instead. Don't worry, I'll be back by 8. The second he heard that, Ryan immediately backtracked, his expression one of sheer panic. Forget everything I just said. Let's go together, okay? I'll pick you up. Honestly. This man's mood swings were giving me whiplash. Marilyn's gallery was a fascinating mix, featuring not just masterpieces by well-known artists, but also experimental pieces from up-and-coming talents. All the proceeds from the artworks would go towards charity. As I watched her gracefully addressing the crowd, I couldn't help but smile. She was still the same admirable woman I had always looked up to. When Marilyn caught sight of me amidst the guests, she walked over and asked with her signature warm smile, "What do you think of the exhibit?" "It's amazing," I said. "I was actually thinking of buying that sunflower painting." Marilyn chuckled lightly. "You're a bit late on that one, someone just bought it a moment ago." Then, in a softer tone, she added, "You don't need to buy anything to support me. I'm already happy that you came. Your family hasn't fully recovered yet, there's no need to spend unnecessarily." Touched by her genuine concern, I clung to her arm and playfully whined, "You're too kind, Marilyn." She pinched my cheek affectionately. "Jessica, you're exceptional too. It's just a shame Ryan got to have you." Curiosity piqued, I hesitated for a moment before asking, "Did you and Ryan ever date?" She burst into laughter. "Are you kidding? I'd never go for someone like him." Wait, what? That was completely different from what I had thought. Wasn't it a well-known fact that they were the golden couple, only parting ways because they had different paths in life? Seeing my confusion, Marilyn shook her head with a sigh. "What on earth has Ryan been telling you?" From her version of events, I discovered a story I had never known. "Back when Ryan was in college, he had a huge crush on you," Marilyn explained, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "He found out you were on our debate team, so every time he came by with coffee for the whole team, it was really just an excuse to see you. His intentions were so obvious, I saw through him right away." She added, laughing. "He even tried to recruit me to help him win you over. But you were dating Terry at the time, and your relationship seemed strong." I immediately shot him down. "There's no way I would play homewrecker, that's not what friends do. I even warned him to stay away from you. But as fate would have it, you two still ended up together. Maybe it really was destiny," she teased. "And yet that sneaky Ryan had the nerve to use me as an excuse. We've known each other since childhood." She continued. "Our families are close, but that familiarity makes romance impossible. Sure, he looks all polished and suave now, but I've seen him as a kid running around in split pants, with snot all over his face. I can't unsee that, you know?" She shook her head with mock disdain. I was stunned. These were things I had never known, secrets buried beneath years of misunderstandings. Hearing it from Marilyn, it was as if the fog had finally lifted, revealing the hidden truth behind Ryan's actions. A warmth blossomed in my chest, spreading like a soft glow. There's no such thing as destined love, it's just someone patiently, quietly laying the groundwork all along. Marilyn, noticing the flush creeping up my face, gave me a teasing smile. Ryan's a good guy, you know. A bit naive, a touch arrogant. But he's clean. He hasn't fallen into the traps of wealth and excess, like so many others in his circle. He's someone you can rely on. I know, I said softly, my cheeks growing hotter. He's always been so good to me. I lowered my head, feeling a surge of affection. Ryan's awkward attempts to show he cared suddenly made perfect sense. It was hard not to feel a little giddy, knowing just how long he'd been planning all this. After the gallery opening, I could hardly contain my excitement. I was eager to see Ryan. Everything suddenly made sense, the clumsy excuses, the showy displays of affection, and all those times he'd gone out of his way to help me. Knowing what I knew now, this man was undeniably endearing. I booked a table at his favorite restaurant, giddy at the thought of having dinner together. In my mind, I rehearsed the scene. He would probably pretend to be aloof and tease me. Weren't you supposed to have dinner with Marilyn? Now you remember you have a husband? But I knew him too well. A little coaxing from me, and he would inevitably give in, taking my hand with that familiar warmth and saying, "A husband having dinner with his wife is only natural. Let's go." I had to admit I did have feelings for Ryan. Otherwise, I wouldn't remember every little nuance of his expressions and tone so clearly. 2 years of genuine companionship had made this man an irreplaceable part of my life. I wanted tonight to be perfect, so I put on a formal outfit, did my makeup meticulously, and wore the emerald earrings he had gifted me. I arrived early at the restaurant, my heart full of anticipation. But time ticked on, and he never showed up. I called him multiple times, only to be met with the monotone ring of unanswered calls. I sent texts that went unreplied. Growing more anxious by the minute, I eventually reached out to his assistant, only to hear that Ryan had left hours ago. As night fell, a deep unease settled into my heart. That's when I got a call from James, one of Ryan's close friends. "Jessica, we were in an accident over on Don Road. Ryan's not doing well. Could you come over as soon as possible?" I jumped up from my seat, my voice trembling as I asked, "Which hospital?" "I'll be there right away." On the way to the hospital, my mind was racing with all kinds of worst-case scenarios. A car accident, how bad was it? Was he seriously hurt? I forced myself to stay calm, determined to stand by him no matter what awaited me. But when I arrived at the scene, it turned out things were not quite what I had imagined. Yes, there had been an accident, but thankfully, no one was injured. Ryan had merely crashed into a roadside lamppost. His luxury car had taken most of the impact, and he seemed physically unscathed. As for Ryan himself, well, he was sitting in the passenger seat, bawling his eyes out. "I've been secretly in love with my wife for years, and now she doesn't want me anymore. She wants a divorce," he wailed. "I'm so unlucky. I finally tricked my wife into coming home with me, and now she wants to leave. What's the point of living? I'm so miserable. I'm just a poor, unloved cabbage, abandoned and helpless." I couldn't help it. I discreetly turned on the recording function on my phone. Ryan's car was stuck on the curb, and he flat out refused to get out, effectively blocking traffic. He was completely lost in his drunken misery, ignoring everyone's attempts to talk sense into him. All he did was cry louder. What a mess. I mentally noted never to let him get this drunk again. It was a total public nuisance. In this moment, I finally understood what Marilyn had meant when she called him simple. James, who was standing beside a very patient traffic officer, offered an apologetic smile. "Please bear with us a little longer, his wife is almost here." I hurried forward, trying to defuse the situation. "I'm so sorry I'm late. I'll get him out of here right away. He's had a bit too much to drink, sorry for the trouble." I must have apologized half a dozen times, feeling utterly embarrassed for the first time because Ryan was my husband. The traffic officer, unfazed, simply nodded. "You two should talk things out properly. Crying won't solve your problems, and crashing into a lamppost certainly won't either. You're absolutely right, I agreed quickly. James, upon seeing me, looked as if he had just been handed a get-out-of-jail-free card. Jessica. Thank God you're here. He's all yours now. I'm out. James had clearly had enough of Ryan's tearful laments. The moment I arrived, he sprinted away like he was in an Olympic race, vanishing down the street without a second glance. Truly, no wonder he is a worthy friend of Ryan. I stood by the car door, my face cold. Get out. I'm not getting out. My wife doesn't want me anymore. She wants a divorce. Ryan wailed dramatically. If you don't get out right now, she really will divorce you. I snapped. It was like a light bulb went off in his head. He blinked at me, staring for a long moment before recognition finally dawned. Baby? You're here? I'm not dreaming, am I? You can slap yourself to check. And to my surprise, he actually gave himself a hard slap. The sound of it made me wince. It clearly hurt. It didn't hurt, so it must be fake. Oh my God, my wife really doesn't want me. He sobbed again. Shut up. Get out of the car. I barked, my voice booming so loudly that even the traffic cop gave me a respectful glance. Great, there goes my image of a graceful, demure lady ruined by this idiot of a man. But at least Ryan finally understood and, after a moment, obediently unbuckled his seatbelt and stepped out. He looked like a child who had been caught doing something wrong. Clinging to me with an exaggerated pout and nuzzling his head against my shoulder. The traffic officer, apparently feeling like he had to step in, said with a knowing smile, "You two seem to be going through a rough patch, but hey, he looks like he cares a lot about you. Just remember, communication is key. Nothing shall lead to any domestic violence, all right?" I gave him a tired smile. Of course not, don't worry. We'll definitely. I paused. Turning to glare at Ryan, only to be met with his big, pleading puppy eyes. I couldn't stay mad at him. With an exasperated sigh, I finally managed to drag him into my car. What a chaotic night. After finally getting Ryan back home, the guy just wouldn't leave my side, following me around like a shadow no matter what I did. What do you think you're doing? I asked, exasperated. Why do you want a divorce? Haven't I been good to you? His voice was almost pleading. I opened my drawer to find, as expected, the divorce papers had mysteriously vanished. Ryan must have taken them. I did it because I don't want to hear it. I'm not listening. He interrupted, throwing a tantrum like a child. Watching him act out, I felt both angry and amused. I went about changing, brushing my teeth, and washing my face, trying my best to ignore his intense gaze. But soon, his arms wrapped around me, and he started kissing me relentlessly, his hands wandering. I desperately tried to push him away. It wasn't that I wasn't willing, it was just that the smell of alcohol was overpowering. I covered his mouth. What do you think you're doing? I want to make our marriage real, that way you can't divorce me, he said earnestly. I was so frustrated, I almost laughed. All right, go take a shower first. You think I smell bad? He pouted. Of course I do. I don't want to be with a man who reeks of alcohol. I replied sharply. Ryan looked at me with hopeful eyes. Go take a shower and brush your teeth. I blushed and muttered, I didn't say I wouldn't. At that, Ryan immediately dashed to the bathroom. In less than 10 minutes, he emerged wrapped in a towel, charging toward me. Baby, why don't you check for yourself if there's anywhere I didn't clean properly? He asked. Grinning mischievously. I couldn't help but laugh. Are you even drunk? I am, very drunk, he admitted, before showering me with kisses. Though he appeared tough on the outside, in that moment, he was all tenderness, his affection never ending, as he nuzzled me with soft, persistent kisses. When I woke up in the morning, Ryan was already awake. He was posing with his head propped up and staring at me. He wanted to seduce me with his body early in the morning. This man is really foxy. Good morning, sweetheart. Morning, do you remember what happened last night? I don't remember. Ryan lied with his eyes open. I just remember you said you loved me super much, hugged me and said, baby, you are great, you want to be with me forever. I blushed. That was clearly what he forced me to say when I reached the peak of pleasure. I took out my phone and played a video of him crying in the car. Why am I so miserable? I finally tricked my wife home, but she wants me to divorce her. Delete it, forget it quickly. How can such a video that insults my image be kept? Ryan said and tried to snatch my phone. I glared at him. And he didn't dare to move. This is my handle. If you dare to make me angry, I will punish you in front of me. Ryan complained aggrievedly, how dare I make you angry? I like you the most. Now you like me. Isn't Marilyn your first love? I was just angry. Ryan complained helplessly, I'm just jealous. I just don't want to be compared. You have an ex-boyfriend who you have been dating for 4 years, and I can't have a first love. And you have been dating for 4 years, and my first love is made up. Ryan stared at me intently. Jessica, I only liked you. I fell in love with you at first sight in my junior year, but you were with Terry at the time, and I was jealous of him. Terry is not a good person. He ran away as soon as he saw that something happened in your family. In fact, I am quite happy. I finally have the opportunity to take advantage of the opportunity. You are very happy that my family went bankrupt. I mean, you broke up, don't misinterpret my meaning deliberately. But I didn't expect you to want to divorce me and even draft a divorce agreement. Well, I misunderstood the story. I really thought you liked Marilyn, and you wanted me to make room for you too. I like her? How is that even possible? I'm not blind. Marilyn, that tomboy, must have said a lot of bad things to you about me. Don't look at her dignified and elegant appearance now. She was as dark as a coal ball when she was a child, and she even pinned me to the ground and beat me. I smiled and comforted, okay, Terry and I are the past tense. Baby, the person I like now is you. Really? Ryan's puppy eyes lit up. Repeat what you just said, okay? Baby. There's more. I like you. Say it all. Baby, I like you. Say it again. You're not done yet, are you? Jessica, you are so mean, you have no patience with me. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What should I do with a husband who loves me too much and is very jealous? I can only pamper him. The end.